Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Eons. Welcome to Strange Eons Radio. That's Eric over there.
Hello there.
That is Vanessa over there.
Hello.
I'm Kelly. We are all in the same room. It's so nice to see your lovely faces.
Yay.
You too. Oh my God. You're actual human beings and
Everybody
not just pixels.
looks healthy. Everybody feels good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We got a dirty show for you today.
What?
Watch out for that shit on the floor.
What?
Did you guys see this? Netflix is now thinking of jettisoning the binge model that they started.
What? Why? That's so weird.
It's, well, they lost 200,000 subscribers in the first quarter, and they're looking at losing 2 million subscribers by the end of the second quarter.
Gosh. Okay.
And one of the theories is that it is very easy to take off Netflix for 3 months and then just pop on.
Stranger Things 4 is here.
Exactly. Pop on for a month and binge watch everything that you like. And then.
Oh, interesting.
I've always thought it's weird too, because I mean, if you think just on our show alone, how many times have we talked about Star Trek Discovery?
Yeah.
Why? Because it comes out one episode a week.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're talking about it. And then Stranger Things pops up with, well, they didn't this time, but if they had all of them at once, we might talk about it for an episode, maybe two.
It's true.
So,
it's true. Yeah. And I wonder how much of that releasing the other 2 episodes is part of this, because those won't release until the next month.
Right.
Totally.
And the same thing when they had Ozark split into 2 sections for that last season. I think they're starting to kind of look at, Disney, as much as I've been bitching about a lot of their shows, they'll end a show after, 6 weeks of watching it, and the next week starts a new show.
Yeah, it's really clever. And it's funny because I loved the binge model, but now it's so hard to watch what you want to watch. There are tons of shows that came out on Netflix that I'm like, I don't have, 8 to 10 hours worth of just spare time to sit here and go through all of them. But something like Obi-Wan, where it's like, okay, I can watch this one episode. Okay, I have 1 hour in a week. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
I think also, for me at least, probably you guys are a little more disciplined than me, but I'll get 4 episodes into something, and then a different show that I might be more interested in will drop. And then I'll just never get back to those episodes from that first show.
For sure.
Yeah, if they lose you a little bit, that could definitely happen. But that happened for me with the drop all at once stuff too, where I'd watch 3 or 4 and go, I don't know if I feel like,
Yeah.
Well, like HBO. I mean, this is episodically released, but the show The Baby. I know there's been 2 episodes out for a while now, and I'm just like, because it started off so strong.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, maybe I'll finish it off someday.
I'm the same way with The Baby.
Is it?
I have never even heard of The Baby.
Oh, I think you'd like The Baby most of all.
What?
Yeah, there you go. I'd say, watch the first 2 episodes. You might.
Then I'll know.
Yeah. Well, it's really good for about 3 until they get to the farm. Once they got to her mom's farm.
Oh, I haven't made it that far.
Oh, so you're like way behind. I
Yeah.
think that's like, so you're like 4 or 5 episodes back.
Oh, I think I've only seen the first episode and part of the second.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's got your sense of humor though. I
Oh.
think you'd like it, Vanessa.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if it had been a 90-minute movie,
Yes.
pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Well, yeah, I just hope it's not just a show about an irritating baby. That's
Well, this baby is irritating,
Yeah,
all
it is.
right.
Oh, man. Uh-oh.
Because he's the Antichrist.
Yeah.
Oh.
Not in the way you think.
Okay. All right. That sounds more interesting.
Let's talk about a show that comes out weekly. And I only want to talk about this. The Boys is just
yeah.
great.
Sure.
But it took me until yesterday to realize that the guy playing Huey, Jack Quaid,
Yeah.
is the son of Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan.
Oh.
I had no idea.
That sounds familiar, but no, I
Yeah.
if I knew it, I forgot it.
Yeah. Same.
So I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Oh, interesting. I mean, he's so good. I really enjoy it. Have enjoyed him in all of the random things I found him in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's great.
I'll say this episode, this new season kind of felt to me like it was more, let's just throw crazy situations and not as pointed a message as the first couple of seasons. But Butcher said something just before he and Maeve got it on in the kitchen, where he was saying to her, it's not just Homelander. The whole lot of you got to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. The whole point of this show is if we lived in a world where there were superpowered beings, they would most likely act like this. They wouldn't act like the Justice League.
Right.
They would just be awful people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, the odds are there'll be a couple good ones.
Right.
But then you're going to get that absolute corruption, that whole thing, absolute power.
Yeah.
There ain't that's not an exaggeration.
Right.
So.
I think that we might even start seeing that with Huey, as much as he's loving the temp B. I was like, this is not going to end well for him.
Nope.
Oh man. Well, I have a little bit of catching up to do, but I'm really excited.
Oh, whoops. Spoilers.
No, it's fine. I don't care.
That was vague enough to.
It was vague. I'm not too worried. I don't think that there's going to be plenty to check out. I definitely saw the first one. I can tell you that. I was like, no, turned my eyes. I know what's going to happen, and no. Oh.
Yeah, somebody posted, I saw a post or a tweet or something. Well, that's something I'm never going to unsee.
I was just like, at least this equated to an immediate death. And so no one necessarily knew how bad that could have been for them. So that's good. That's good.
Yeah, it's definitely, we are not on network television anymore.
They want to remind us at every possible moment, anything could happen. Anything.
I wonder how different if they knew the acceptance they'd get with the Extreme, how different the first season would have been. Because the teen team in the comic was nasty.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about them.
And they didn't do anything to the level of what went on in that show. And they lightened up the assault that she took quite a bit. I wonder if they knew what was happening, if the first season would have had a lot more shit going on.
I think it took that first season to kind of get us all used to the idea that this is what we were watching, and to let Amazon know, oh, okay,
we can do this.
Yeah.
It is still, to this day, one of the most stressful shows I watch, because every time I'm like, oh God, you're going to break them. Oh God, you're going to fry them. Oh God, someone's going to get so horrifically hurt. And they will. They always will.
Yeah. Something more fun or different you've been watching?
So the night before, I went to a movie in a theater.
Yeah.
And that movie was Jurassic Park Dominion.
I have heard great mixed things.
I haven't heard mixed things.
What, all crap?
Yes.
I had only seen really positive reviews about it on Facebook from people that we knew. So sorry to all those people, any of them that are listening, but it was one of the worst movies I've seen in years.
Wow, I hadn't heard that bad a review.
It is worse than Mobius. It is worse than Venom 2. It is such a heaping pile of nonsense. Just, oh, hey, you remember the classic 3 characters. Let's just fucking throw them at the screen. But this time, Laura Dern, you can see her bra, which was really cool in the end of the 90s as like a fashion statement. But it's fucking, what year is it? 2022, guys. And she's not some teenager. I'm like, I don't need to see Laura Dern's like fucking bra. Okay, I just don't. And why is there an Indiana Jones reference? For no reason. And why is there Star Wars music? For no reason. And why, when the entire planet has a giant dinosaur outbreak happening, do we then go back to a small enclosed space where somebody's herded all these dinosaurs together and spend the entire movie there? It is bad writing after bad writing after, and you've got 2 completely disparate groups of like plot, like main character plot happening at the same time. And guess what, guys? That does not work. And when you're like so reverent towards the new lot as well as the old lot of characters that you can't injure any of them, no matter how big of a dinosaur you throw into the scene, I'm not concerned. So there is zero tension.
So you're telling me Laura and Sam and Jeff counted as the dinosaurs on the screen in this movie?
snap. I will say the acting for, everybody, there's some really good acting going on.
Sure.
It's not their fault that this movie sucks ass. But the writers, I'm mad. Who's the director again? Colin? No.
Was it?
I have no idea.
Oh, is it Colin Trevorrow?
It's the guy who did Safety Not Guaranteed.
That's
and the guy
Colin
who did the
Trevorrow,
first,
right? And
he did the first Jurassic Park,
Jurassic World.
Jurassic World movie. Yeah, he's nass, and I hate him.
Wow.
Because he wrote and directed this, and it is bad directing and it's bad writing.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I heard an interview with him, and it wasn't an interview about this. He was actually on some podcast talking about something else. But he was saying, how basically you've got this new group of filmmakers who are raised on these films that they loved, and then they spend their life trying to recapture that. And he goes, I mean, that's what I've done for the last 9 years.
Yeah.
And so he even kind of
That's all he's
realized that
done.
there was no way you could get back to the glory of Jurassic Park.
You
Oh, yeah,
can't.
no.
And the closest I think out of the new films they've come is the second one, which was directed by the guy who did The Orphanage. And it's not a dinosaur movie, it's a horror movie. It's a bedtime creepy monster movie with a dinosaur creeping around some little girl's bedroom at night on a rooftop in a manor. Like, that's what that movie is. And that's why I think it's more interesting. This movie is just fucking trying to be something it's been 1,000 times before, but that much worse.
That moment in the theater in the first film when he stands up in the Jeep and you look around to see the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
That's one of those like top 5 movie moments that everybody hopes to recapture, but you're just never
can't.
going to do it.
Not that way.
And it still holds up. The effects from Jurassic Park still work.
Yeah.
A lot of movies from that time do not, but that one still does.
I would say in this movie too, something they're trying to do is trying to get that puppet, that mix between the puppet and the CGI dinosaur back again. But it just looks weird. You're just like, why is there like a weird puppet, like Jim Henson Studio dinosaur here? Like, I mean, I'm just not even used to it anymore. I don't hate it if this is like a stuff. Totally. Their eyes are kind of like shifting left and right. And I'm like, who's in there? What hand is moving those eyes back and forth, guys? Like, I don't hate it, but it's not established. So.
Oh, well.
Oh, well. Don't waste money. Please don't waste money on this.
Okay, you want something fun,
Yes.
strange, and absolutely ridiculous? The Return of Captain Invincible.
What?
Yeah.
As the superhero, Alan Arkin. As the key villain, Christopher Lee.
Oh, my God.
This was made in 1983, directed by Philip Mora, who's not necessarily known for too much else, although Mad Dog Morgan was him, an Australian filmmaker. This is a story of Alan Arkin plays Captain Invincible, who is a huge superhero in like World War II and taking on the Nazis and destroying tanks and doing all that kind of stuff, and then gets pushed aside after the war and just disappears and kind of becomes a recluse. But his main antagonist, Christopher Lee, comes back with a hypno ray, I believe it's called.
Yes.
So the president of the U.S. goes down to Australia to find this hero, or what at the time, who's where until they actually get to New York. You're like, I think it's Australia. I mean, I know it's shot in Australia, but I think it's also based in Australia. And it's fun and goofy and stupid. And Richard O'Brien wrote the songs in it.
Is it a musical
It is
also?
a musical.
Wow.
It's a light musical. There's maybe 5 or 6 songs performed.
Oh, my gosh.
I've not even heard of this. How did you watch it? Why did you watch it?
It was a Severin release.
Oh, okay.
They put out the Christopher Lee box set number 2, and this wasn't in that box, but it was included as an additional Blu-ray at the same time. And it's dumb, but it's funny and it's fun. And of course, I mean, the Alan Arkin and Christopher Lee are great. Some of the people around are kind of rough actors. Like the scene where he's trying to get his powers back, because the way he can fly, he's magnetic, and
Perfect.
something else.
That's handy.
He's super brain. And to activate him, he has to say like, "Into the blue yonder," I believe is his. I'm going to fly now, or turn on magnetism. And like a scene where all the shit in the room comes after him. It's a lot of fun.
Oh.
Wow.
That sounds incredible. I have never heard of this movie.
No, neither have I.
It is much better than what you saw. I can guarantee you right now.
It sounds so much more enjoyable. At least I had popcorn. That was the only good thing about it.
Yeah, and for some reason, Christopher Lee has this weird little monster creature as his side guy, and he's never addressed. Nobody ever talks like, why do you have a monster? Everybody else is human in this. He's just there.
Well, speaking of little monsters, streaming on Shudder right now is Mad God.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my
Man, I want to
gosh.
see this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I saw
not-
a trailer, but I have not watched it yet.
It is. It's if there is a storyline, it's hard to kind of find.
Mhm.
There are recurring characters and stuff like that. It's all stop motion, and it took 30 years for him to finish, and it is really, really stunning to look at.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I watched it in like 15-minute increments because
Mhm.
there's no dialogue, and it's just so bizarre that I was like, I gotta watch something that makes a little bit of sense. But it is gorgeous. I mean, it seems like something you want to put on at a party, in the background or
Oh,
something
yeah.
like that. Really something else.
About 10 years ago, probably, we had Crypticon showed one of his early, he did like this same thing, but it was a music video that put to this,
Oh, okay.
the stuff he was working on. Because like I said, it's been 30 years.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So 20 years in, he had a lot he could do with and put that on and showed that. And this started to pop up and going, is this the same thing? And yep, sure is. So I'd imagine when I watch him go, oh, okay, this is, I know this part.
Right. It's funny that you mentioned Jurassic World because he started this after working on RoboCop 2.
Oh.
And then Jurassic World came out and was so huge, he was kind of like, oh, I don't think that we'll be using miniatures on anything ever again. So he kind of gave up on it and
Oh,
then
wow.
was convinced to start it up again.
Oh, I'm glad that somebody did. 'Cause
Yeah, no
I
kidding.
think there's a lot of room in the world for miniatures and practicals. So,
God, yeah, please.
Oh.
More.
well, I watched something I'm sure that both of you probably have had the chance to see. The first episode of Ms. Marvel.
Yes.
Yeah.
First two.
Yeah. I
I've
haven't
seen
seen the
that.
second one yet, unfortunately, but yeah, so I was
I think it's great. I think it's an absolute
yeah.
joy.
I really like the art design a lot.
Oh, man, yeah.
The art design's incredible. Like they spent a lot of time on that. From the first episode, I don't know how hooked I am in the characters yet, but I think that there's a lot of interesting, unique voices happening. So I'm ready to see where it goes.
I read the comic when this came out
Mhm.
originally. I read like, I don't know, 10 or 15 issues of it.
Mhm.
It's a fairly decent recreation of what was done there.
Mhm.
And I love like the common problem you have now in movies is everybody is texting all the time. So you got to come up with some way to do it. And theirs is so
good.
cool.
It's so good. Seeing like things pop up like in the background and on signs they're walking past and stuff. Oh, it's really fun. Really, really fun.
I'll tell you, it is a sad day in this household when I get home from work on Wednesday and I start the new Ms. Marvel first instead of the new Obi-Wan episode. Because I was just like, boy, I am clearly not the demographic for this show. And it's just so good. I
Yeah.
was like, well, I'm going to watch this. I'm so disappointed in
Great shows, great show.
Obi-Wan.
You said something, I think it was in a text thing. I don't know if it was a post or a text thing that I think absolutely nails the problem Obi-Wan has,
What's that?
which you said it's based on the fans of the prequels
Yeah.
as opposed to the fans of the original.
Yeah.
And I've like, you said that, I'm going, oh man, that is exactly the issue, at least we are going to have with this show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, this isn't, no, it's not Empire Strikes Back. It's not Return of the Jedi. This is, oh well.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely feel that. So as a kid, we had the box set, the VHS
Oh, yeah,
triple
sure.
box set that we would watch over and over. My best childhood friend would have us watch it almost every weekend. So I saw Star Wars hundreds of times before the prequel. And yeah, the prequel, watching the new Obi-Wan, it does really feel like, why, Ewan? Why are you doing this performance? You're matching what the movies were, and you don't need to. You're a better actor than that.
Yeah.
You don't need to be like, why, blah, blah, blah. Look at that over there. Like, I know you can act, sir. Could you try? Could you fix the problem we had the first time around?
Well, since we've skewed
Let's.
over to
was that going to be
Obi-Wan.
your next one?
No,
Oh, okay.
but I wanted to say this one thing. This whole thing of this relationship that they're showing Obi-Wan and Leia having at this young age makes her message to him in A New Hope not quite make sense. Where she's,
right.
General Kenobi, you served my father, instead of, hey, remember me?
Yeah.
Remember
I
that
got kidnapped
tight
again.
bond we got? Want to come find me?
And then
Yeah.
also when he is killed on the Death Star, she's there, comforting Luke and everything. And I'm like, well, arguably you've had a stronger relationship with Obi-Wan now than Luke did.
Yeah.
So it's
a very good point. It just seems like a weird choice. Like, I didn't mind a little bit, but I didn't know the whole series was going to be.
I'll tell you what would have made this a cool show. I love that twist. Are you caught up on Obi-Wan?
I think I'm one episode behind.
Oh,
I am too, but I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care either.
Okay, there's a twist. And I think if this show was more like, did you guys see that Tom Cruise Hitler movie, Valkyrie?
Yes.
Mhm.
Where he had this group of high-ranking SS officers who were plotting to kill Hitler because they
Right.
knew that what he was doing was wrong. If this had been something set in that kind of storyline where Vader is surrounded by these generals and everything who are like, this guy's fucking insane, and if we don't take him out, he's going to end up ruling the galaxy. That, I think, would have made a much more interesting story.
Ooh.
And Obi-Wan or Ewan McGregor could have shown up as a surprise cameo for one episode while Vader was trying to get him. And I think it would have pleased everybody a lot more than this story is.
Yeah.
But I don't know. This story also feels like it's aimed at such a young audience that maybe
Right.
something like that wouldn't work. But every time they show Vader, he's, scary.
Yeah.
So
I don't know who this show is for.
Yeah.
Because like you said, Vader's really scary. The dialogue is really like aimed at youth, but it never felt like it was advertised for youth. It felt like people who are, if it is aimed at the people who enjoyed the first, second, third, number 1, 2, 3 films, then they're in their 20s, 30s.
Yeah.
Then they're not going to be enjoying this either. So who is this for?
Well, I mean, I think that it's easy to forget that those movies didn't appeal to Eric and I. I don't know if you like the prequel.
Oh, I hated
films.
them.
Okay.
Oh, I hated
But
them.
there were a group of children who grew up loving those movies.
Yeah, I thought they were real dumb.
And those adults probably are getting a lot more out of this Obi-Wan series than we are.
Maybe, but nobody enjoys watching a little kid run around and go, make me float. Like, I'm sorry. No matter, it doesn't suddenly become cool. Like, just because you have any reference point.
Man, are we bashing little kid actors on this show now? Is that what we're all about?
I don't think it's her fault. I think the dialogue is a piece of It's fine.
All right. Moving on then.
Yeah, Eric, your turn.
So the Andy Mulligan crusade continues.
Oh my God, no.
With Flesh Pot on 42nd Street.
No. Okay.
This is his
I
attempt.
have heard of this movie.
This is sort of his attempt at doing an adult film, but it's not quite porn. It's sort of
softcore.
That early mid-70s porn where they weren't quite sure how much they could get away with. And story-wise, it's actually one of his better stories.
Wow.
It's a story. It's just a hooker who finds redemption kind of story. And it's he was gay, so it's very progressive towards gays in that there's her roommate is a guy that dresses as a woman and is also a streetwalker. And it's not a question, it's just that's what they do. The acting is, rough. And he really has a hard time, I feel, with a wider, once he got to 35 millimeters, like, what do I do with this giant screen? And his dialogue's better because that's just his first thing. He always wanted to just write. And Tony let me know that the guy who wrote The Ghastly Ones, which is considered by many to be one of the best books written about a filmmaker, any filmmaker, and it's about him. The guy who wrote it is going to be at the Beacon in Seattle.
Oh, that's cool.
So I'll probably be going. I'm going to go to that. It's also a double bill. It's like, God, I don't know if I can sit. I enjoy the hell out of this guy, but I don't know if I can sit in a theater and solidly watch 2 full Andy Milligan features. It's like
Yeah.
it's he's a fascinating person more as a film curiosity and an interesting creator, not because he's an undiscovered Spielberg working with no budget. But so we shall see. So I got a couple more to go.
Nice. Are they ones that you've seen already that they're playing in this double bill?
I have to check. I'm pretty sure one's the Ghastly Ones, which I have seen, but I forgot what the second one was.
Okay. Huh. Yeah, because you can always just walk in at the end, just pay for your ticket, and then just
it's like a $12 ticket. Go and buy the $30 book or whatever it is. There you go.
Right.
but Tony's going too, so we'll see. Maybe Tony and I will sneak in a bottle of something and make it more fun to watch.
There you go. That doesn't sound like the Tony I know. Okay, well, how about we take a break, guys, and then we're coming back and we're talking about films that we promised people we would finally watch.
An evening dinner theater in Westchester joyously presents the song-filled Broadway comedy Promises, Promises, starring Bob Morrissey and Laura McDuffie. Enjoy a gourmet dinner in our luxury theater, then relax as our great cast entertains.
Promises, promises, my kind of promises. Can be to joy.
An evening is minutes from White Plains. Call 914-592-2222. That's 592-2222. An evening. Great entertainment for 10 years.
And we're back. Vanessa, this was your subgenre pick. And pray tell, what made you think of this?
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, a friend of mine lent me a movie that they said was very, very good. And it then sat on my shelf next to my DVD player for a few weeks, maybe a few months. And
Since before the pandemic.
I felt increasingly guilty about it. And that friend may be in this room right now.
Oh,
So,
I'm a friend.
of course you're a friend. Holy
You gave
cannoli.
Dobby a sock.
You can't be free, Dobby. Don't leave.
Oh my.
Yes. So the movie was Haruko the Goblin.
おいやべえ本当に学校に古墳なんかあんのかよ少なくとも親父はそう信じ込んでたからな
私の住む土地からこれまでの定説を全く覆してしまう古墳が見つかったのだ。
こっちはヒルコ。この地方に伝わる伝説の化け物。
危険なんだよ。
心配しなくていいから俺が助けてあげるから
1991 that you lent me. Thank you very much.
I know I did lend that to you.
I'm so glad I can give it to you back because this is such a unique and interesting film that I don't know how you found it.
I think I was listening to the guys on Pure Cinema podcast, and Elric probably brought it up or something like that. But I can't wait to hear your thoughts on it.
Yes. So before we jump into that, Rotten Tomatoes score no information whatsoever from critics. However, audience has it at 53% from over 1,000 people. So somebody out there is watching it. 53% tells me that maybe they didn't know what they were getting into. The director and writer of the screenplay, Shinya Tsukamato, is mostly actually known as an actor. He's been in 58 titles as an actor. He's directed 29, written 17. He acted as the metal fetishist in Tetsu, the Iron Man, and he was Juji in Ichi the Killer. So he's been around for a while, doing all kinds of different roles, sort of jumping in and out of things. It was written, it was actually based on a manga by Dajiro Moroshi. And the name of the manga is Kairusai no Yoru Yoka Hanta. And this guy has actually 6 film credits, but he's done all kinds of work. But the films that have been based on his work include The Wall Man, Inferno, Shirori, to Shamika, and Dark Myth. And the story was written by Koji Tsutsumi. Oh my God. Koji Tsutsumi, who has
Eric, you want to help her out with these?
No. Just go with it.
It's already
Just
bad.
go.
If I just sound really confident, it'll be fine.
See, there you go.
He has 3 credits, which includes this and Tokyo: The Last War and Yumi no Onna. So this is starring mostly a lot of people who didn't go on to do anything else. So there was a lot of teen actors in this who didn't even have like a photo on their IMDb. But the people who were a little more known, Kanji Sawad as Haide Roijuru. He's been in 35 things. He's the main character in this guy. He was in Akuma no Yona, a TV series where he was in 17 episodes. I think that's kind of where he gets a lot of his creds from. But also The Man Who Stole the Sun, Mishima, and A Life in 4 Cycles, and Samurai Reincarnation. He actually stopped acting in 2006 and then did one thing in 2021. So I would love to know his story.
Oh, jeez.
The person who plays Masao Yabi, the younger boy, the younger of the 2 Yabis in this film, he's only been in 3 things. Same with the younger girl in this movie, Megumi Ueno. She's only done 3 things. So they both kind of did this and were like, maybe no acting. But the person who plays Takeshi Yabi, the man at the beginning who we discover may or may not go missing, he's been in 297 things. So he's really the big heavy hitter in this. He was in Nowhere Men, 109. Oh, sorry. I don't know what that means. Shall We Dance, and lots and lots and lots of TV stuff. So really interesting cast that I think kind of did this strange little movie, and then a lot of them did not continue. The plot. All right. I'm going to do my best.
Yeah, it's good. This will be fun.
So I'm going to get a little detailed at the start, and then, yeah. So, all right, we start off in a dig site with a man who's using this sort of hand mixer invention where he's thrown a bunch of glued a bunch of feathers onto it, and he's using this hand mixer to dig up some bones on a dig site. He's clearly made this himself. And in the background, we have 2 men nearby gossiping about him. It turns out this is Hiera. He's a well-known archaeologist who's been discredited for advocating wild theories about the supernatural. He also is sitting there laughing, smiling away as he's digging at these bones, having the time of his life. Of course, when he goes home, he seems very depressed. He looks at a picture of his dead wife, who he's still in mourning over, and then sees a cockroach, freaks out, like sprays it with a bunch of bug spray and starts screaming and running around his apartment energetically. So he's emotionally in a strange space. Meanwhile, we jump over to a girl on a bicycle riding through the countryside. Very, very beautiful, romantic space. This is Tsukishima, and she is also smiling. She is also having the time of her life. The grass is rolling through the hillside as she rides by. And then she goes to this weird random underground site where Professor Yabi is working on a special precarious secret project looking at a burial ground. He tells her to go away. She says no. He explains it's dangerous. She says no. And just then she kind of looks off into the distance way down the tunnel and her eyes get really big. And a creature going at a very fast speed, starts going straight for them, and her eyes are fixed on it, and he turns around and looks, and cut to black. Meanwhile, a letter arrives for Hiedo from Yabi, clearly written before he just got approached by this very fast-moving camera in a tunnel, telling him to come to the town he lives in. A local school has a site underneath it that may prove Hiedo's crazy theory that he's been discredited for. And of course, Hiedo takes off immediately. Back in the town, Yabi's son, Matsuo, and his two friends are walking around the school grounds, theorizing about what happened to his father. Kind of like chill, considering. I didn't realize it was his son for a little while because he's like, yeah, some people say that he ran off with this young schoolgirl. And I'm like, what? And he's like, no, I don't think so, man. My dad didn't do that. And they're just like kind of hanging out on the school grounds, walking around, enjoying the summer vacation, but kind of wondering what happened to dad. Then they're sitting at a fishing dock, and it's actually really ingenious. They have a little fishing line, and as they pull it up, it's got ice cold beer that they've been keeping in the lake to like sit on the dock drinking. And the school janitor appears behind them, and they kind of throw it back in the lake really quick. And he's got like a big sickle and just starts yelling at them to leave the school grounds immediately. He says they don't belong there. It's summer break. They need to leave. So instead of leaving, they follow him. And they watch him as he walks past the school building and scrapes his big sickle alongside it, defacing it. And then they also see in one of the buildings the missing girl in a classroom. And another male student walks past. Apparently, he's allowed to be there. I'm not sure why. And he sees her in the window and he goes inside. Then she starts singing to the guy, and he kind of looks at her and he's about to kiss her, even though she looks like she's not that interested. She's sort of gazing off into the middle distance. And that's when Maseo, the son, pulls away and he says, I don't want to see this. He clearly has a crush on her. He cannot bear to watch her kiss this other guy. So he and his friends go off to an empty classroom to drink their beer when his back starts to burn and emit smoke. And they pull up his shirt, and he has a big black boil on it, like big raised skin. And they're like, whoa, what is happening, dude? And he's like, I don't know. This happened to me yesterday, too. He's got some big bandages. So he's got 2 huge bandages already on his back. And now this big third injury shows up. So he goes off to cool it underneath some water. And while he's in the hall, this thing, of course, way down in the distance sees him, this POV camera that's low to the ground and very fast. And it starts running itself towards him, just like we saw in the previous scene with his dad. And just then, Hiera has showed up at the school, and he's there with his homemade invention that warns him of the danger of invisible spirit, demon, goblin creatures. And it has gone off. So he rams Maseo out of the way with a big cart and through like, I think a glass door or something. And he's like, hey, dude, what's your problem? And of course, the invisible creature just misses him. So they're safe. When they return to the classroom where he's been hanging out with his buddies, they discover that his friends' bodies are missing their heads, and they're squirting blood everywhere, all over the walls. And then, of course, the creature seems to attack them again, and flailing around. And now this movie becomes an epic buddy journey comedy film where adult man Hiera and his friend's son Maseo now must uncover the mystery of what happened to Yabi, what happened to the girl, and what happened to this strange site beneath the school. In the meantime, they're also dealing with the odd creature that seems to have escaped from it. They team up, maybe, with the janitor who goes from antagonist to grumpy side hero, and a lot of stuff happens. So I've described maybe 10 minutes of the movie. All right. I can't describe what happens for the rest of this because it's so weird and impossible. It is impossible. So instead, I'm going to tell you some moments that really stuck out to me. First of all, this is a weird movie. It is a mix of cosmic horror, body horror, comedy adventure, buddy story, fantasy, and probably some other things that I'm missing out on. It's like House 2 meets The Fly, meets Goonies, meets any other Cronenberg body horror story in general. The creature that we're dealing with is fantastic. So it looks like the missing girl, right? That's the face/head. But then it has these spider legs, kind of. They're really squishy. And there are just some magical moments with this creature. I mean, not only is it running around and like tricking people and singing at them, and they're like, "Ooh, what is this beautiful girl singing at me?" And then it jumps out of the wall and sticks out a big tongue at them into their mouth and wraps around them and tries to do whatever it's doing to them. But it also likes to just go out to the pond in the moonlight sometimes and have a little song and just sing and enjoy the water by itself and like with little romantic music. And then sometimes it plays the piano and woos boys in. And just as they get near it, they trip and look down and see there's no legs to the girl who's playing the piano and look up and it's got his little legs just tapping away. Really incredible, incredible stuff. And sometimes this creature might just sprout some wings and fly away. It's hard to say. Who knows?
Wow.
This is an incredible creature. And the effects in this movie are inconsistent to say the least. Sometimes things look incredible. Oftentimes it's actually somebody's face. A lot of times it is a dummy. It is so sometimes good, sometimes bad. Who knows? But it's always a girl with some kind of legs, so you kind of get it. Oh my gosh. The main character, he spends most of the movie, along with the boy, really bumbling around. They are not good at whatever it is they're doing. There's a lot of overreacting, screaming, jumping out of the way, and being generally awful at everything they're trying to do. They try to trap the creature, and the trap involves a cardboard box with sticky tape, like bug tape inside. And they're like, well, we just got to trick it to go into this one space and then it'll get stuck in this random box. And at one point they're like sitting in the nighttime with a bunch of candles around them, having a powwow talk. And like, there are boxes all around them. And you're just like, what? And at one point they do get this thing inside of the box, but it gets out pretty quickly. It really only hinders it for half a second there, but the weird stuff that's happening to this kid's back is insane. It's fucking crazy. And it's also great and looks bonkers. The story overall is just, like I said, I can't describe it. The inventions that the main guy comes up with are so weird and so good. And most of them are just kitchen appliances. I was like, that's like what you use like a sugar, like, duster tool with a pot. It's literally a pot and you put a light on the top. And this senses when there's demons nearby. Okay, that's cool. It's really fun the way they shot it. There's a lot of good handheld stuff, a lot of really interesting angles. It always feels fresh and energetic. It also sometimes feels really romantic at surprisingly inappropriate moments, especially when you're like, wow, this is horrific to look at. And it's like, doo, doo, doo. You're like, okay, good choice. Sounds good. It is delightful. It's wacky. It's an incredible cult movie in the vein of Houseu and maybe even better. And I think that everyone should see this film.
Wow.
Nice.
Oh, I'm so pleased that you enjoyed
So
it.
good.
It is a hard film to kind of nail down what's going on.
I don't even want to tell people what really continues to happen. You just need to know they have an adventure together.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil. Just watch it. It's so good. Watch it with some friends late at night and just marvel. I don't have a lot of trivia. The genre was posted on IMDb as comedy fantasy horror. So there you go.
There you go.
It's based on the manga by the guy we talked about earlier. He's known as a science fiction, known for his science fiction comics, his allegorical comics, and horror mystery comics based off of pseudo history and folklore. He's indirectly influenced by the Cthulhu mythos and also appears here and there in his works. He's written manga, novels, movies, TV dramas, radio dramas, and a video game. And in his book, Horror and Science Fiction Film the Fourth by Donald C. Willis, he states that Hiroko the Goblin was a variation of Bug, the Fly, Attack of the Crab Monsters, and A Nightmare on Elm Street 3. But it puts a fresh, weird spin on every variation, noting that the film is situated amusingly between the comic, the creepy, and the campy. So,
wow.
Yeah, Eric, you want to borrow this?
Probably. Yeah. Was this a Lovecraft? Does this have a Lovecraft festival?
No, in fact, if Brian and Gwen are listening, this is a movie that should be shown at the festival. It's Hiroku
the Goblin.
the Goblin. Hiroko or Haruko?
Haruko.
Haruko the Goblin.
Haruko the Goblin.
And I think actually now that I'm casting my mind back, I saw this back at the Neptune in like
Oh, wow.
92 or something like
a while
that.
ago.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure that I got it then. And then the guys on Pure Cinema were talking about it and that it had just been released on Blu-ray. And I was like, oh, I think that's that weird movie. So I got it and I watched it and I was delighted as well.
It's
Nice.
just so fun.
Yeah.
It's just so fun.
Very cool.
So yes, thank you for recommending it. You were right. That is a film I would like. So success so far. Let's see how well your friends know you guys.
How about I go first?
Sure.
Next. This movie is one that my brother Scott gave me in a John Frankenheimer collection, probably about 15 years ago.
Yes. Success.
And I finally watched it. And it is from 1977, Black Sunday.
People of America, this situation is unbearable for us. Until you understand that and stop helping the Israelis with arms and money, we of the Black September movement will make it unbearable for you. Today's horror is nothing to what will happen unless your government acts now. We have begun the year for you with bloodshed.
If you do not help me, you may have on your hands the blood of a great many innocent Americans.
Just a minute, sweetie. I got something for you.
Her name is Dahlia Iyad, of Arab-German extraction. Black September joined in 1973. Here is her face. Look at it.
Even now, for 30 years, I have been killing and murdering. What have I achieved? Same world, same wars, same enemies, same friends, and same victims.
I am your superior in the organization and you will obey orders.
You may be my superior in the organization, but you are not a woman.
I love you.
We found Dahlia Iyad.
You sure?
Positively identified in a Miami hotel last night.
The day we set the big one off, we're only going to be 100 feet off the ground, right over the 50-yard line. Now look at this. That means 222,000 darts in the kill zone for 80,000 people.
The National Football League welcomes you to Miami's Orange Bowl in the championship of professional football.
What exactly is this Super Bowl?
Are you out of your mind? Pat Summerall with Tom Brookshire. And Tom, you can feel the pressure building up all week. So here we go. Super Bowl is underway. By God, here it comes. Corley to stadium. Signal red alert. Get the president out of the stadium. All right, we're going to shoot the thing down.
You can't shoot it down. It's filled with helium.
We are going to kill the pilot.
If anything happens to me, you use this on the backup fuse. It's going right into the stadium.
Black Sunday. It could be tomorrow.
Now, Now, this is not the Boris Karloff
Right.
Black Sunday. This is the Black Sunday of the blimp over the Super Bowl. You probably have not seen this
No.
poster, but I
have.
know you
idea.
have.
Yep,
Eric.
I've seen the movie too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I remember liking this one, but I might have been in single digits or early double digits when I saw it. But
Wow, I would
it.
think that this would be a little too adult for a kid to get into. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Budget of $8 million, box office of $15,769,322.
That's very specific.
Yep. Rotten Tomatoes critics have it at 71%, and the audience has it at 65%. Directed by John Frankenheimer. He directed The Manchurian Candidate, Prophecy, Ronin, Reindeer Games, The French Connection 2. The French Connection 2 is a really solid movie if you haven't seen it. Very different from the first one, but really good. Written by Ernest Lehman and Kenneth Ross. Between these two guys, they've written just a ton of movies like North by Northwest, West Side Story, The Sound of Music, Day of the Jackal, The Odessa File, many, many more. And it stars Robert Shaw, who has 61 credits, including The Sting, The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, Force 10 from Navarone, The Deep, and of course, he was Quint in Jaws.
Ah.
It also stars Bruce Dern, 192 credits, including Silent Running, The Driver, The Burbs, The Hateful Eight, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and also stars Martha Keller, who was in Marathon Man, Fragile, The Hereafter, and is still working at 77 years young.
Nice.
Cool. Mm-hmm. So yes, my brother Scott gave me this DVD, and I used this opportunity to watch it. So thank you, Vanessa.
Yay. You're welcome, Scott.
This is a political thriller with a ton of twists and turns, and I'm going to go light on the story synopsis and just hit a couple of major beats. It has to do with a Palestinian terrorist group called Black September, which is run by a woman named Dahlia, and the Israeli counterterrorist group that is trying to take them down, which is run by Robert Shaw, who goes by Kabakov in this. So it opens with Kabakov and his men storming a compound to kill their leader. And at one point, he comes across Dahlia, who is showering there, but he doesn't realize who she is. And so he lets her go, and that starts this whole fucking thing. Bruce Dern then plays an American soldier who'd been a prisoner of war and had decided that America was to blame for all of the bad in the world. And so he's been recruited by Black September to do something, but we're not sure what at the beginning of this. We just know that something is going to go down bad. And we see him and Dahlia meeting, and she gives him a statue of the Madonna that is made out of explosives. And it's something he's going to need for whatever their plan is. And they keep talking about, this whole thing is a build up to whatever's going on. I probably should have mentioned that this is based on the novel by Thomas Harris, who wrote Silence of the Lambs and Red Dragon, Hannibal, and all that.
Oh, okay.
So this was his first novel. So pretty soon, Kabakov is in the U.S. He's gotten wind of this plan by Black September, and he's running all over trying to figure out what it could be, because he just knows something big is going to go down. And we are being fed the information at about the same time he's getting it. So it's really interesting stuff. We find out that Dern, he knows how to fly a blimp, and that's going to somehow factor into their plans. And so he and Dahlia go to this air hangar where they have this weird contraption set up, and they're caught by the guard at the hangar, and they convince him that they are using this contraption. It's a brand new camera that they have set up, and they're testing it out and everything. And the guard's like, "Oh, you want to take my picture?" And they're like, "Sure, stand here." And they have him pose, and then they set this thing off, and it is some crazy, wild sci-fi shit. It is a bomb that sends out these steel needles that are about 6 inches long, and it just perforates the entire hangar perfectly. Tiny little breaks between all these round holes in the hangar and the guard. It just turns him into mist, basically. It's actually a really scary weapon. And you start realizing, okay, so he knows how to fly a blimp. They're rigging this somehow, what's going on. And Kabakov has figured out that Dern is a blimp pilot, and that Super Bowl 10 is coming up. And he's sure that's where the plan is going to take place. So he contacts the NFL and says they have to cancel the Super Bowl because of his intuition, his hunch. And they're like, no way, man. Besides, the president's going to be in attendance.
Oh, God.
He's like, oh, fuck. So they're not going to stop this for any reason. And he's trying to convince everybody that he knows what's going on. So he thinks that he's pretty sure that they're going to try and use the Goodyear blimp that's going to be over the Super Bowl to detonate this. So he gets one of his own men in as the pilot. So he's like, okay, well, I've got this avenue taken care of. But of course, that all goes to shit, and Dern gets up in there, and they've got this bomb rigged, and it's pretty crazy. It's a nice, tense little thriller. So will they stop him in time?
Oh my God. I bet not.
Well, there is a cool helicopter blimp chase with machine guns.
Oh my God.
And that's pretty cool. And the climax actually has the blimp grazing the football field.
Yeah, the poster is.
Yeah, it is. It is a scene that's pretty corny, but it works.
Cool,
it works. I liked it. I will say thank you, Scott. I enjoyed this quite a bit. I read this book after I got into Thomas Harris, and I didn't love this book, but it was a little too political thriller for me, and I was looking for more of his serial killer stuff. But big difference in this is that at the end of the book, the plan succeeds. The blimp goes in there, and just about everybody is killed.
Oh my God.
Apparently, they didn't think that was a good way to end a movie. I have a little bit of trivia. This was one of Paramount's highest ever pre-release scoring films from test screenings. Paramount was positioning it to be the blockbuster picture of 1977. Many industry insiders predicted the film would be as big a box office hit as Jaws. However, the film did not perform as well as expected, and instead, Eric, what 1977 film was the biggest?
I don't know, man. I'm sure some kind of war was involved with it.
It was the Star Wars. Star Wars came out in 77, became the biggest blockbuster movie of 77.
Of many years.
Yeah. John Frankenheimer was, I love this. John Frankenheimer. There's got to be a documentary out there about him, and if there's not, there should be, because he was insane.
Yes.
He was able to secure permission from Goodyear to use its blimp in the film because of his relationship with the company's public relations department from making the movie Grand Prix. He had to promise that the blimp itself would not kill anybody. For example, that no one would be torn up in its propellers or anything like that. In addition, the pilot was changed from a Goodyear employee to a freelance pilot, only hired by Goodyear.
Oh.
Then, Miami Dolphins owner Joe Roby got the NFL to allow extensive filming at the real Super Bowl game and the use of copyrighted team names and logos, which just would never happen again. An additional footage of the stampede at the game was shot at the Orange Bowl after the game, with thousands of extras provided for free by the United Way.
What?
Yeah, some kind of charity thing. But in exchange for providing the extras, Frankenheimer agreed to direct a short film for the United Way with Robert Shaw narrating it.
Wow,
wild.
that is amazing.
Yeah. The actual game that's being played in the film is Super Bowl X between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Dallas Cowboys at Miami. Respective scores, 21-17. Movie cameras used in filming during the Super Bowl game were disguised as TV cameras with CBS logos.
Oh, smart. Very smart.
Mm-hmm. So let's see. When moviegoers attending one of the film's initial showings in Los Angeles were handed comment cards, 91% of them said the most disappointing thing about it was that the blimp doesn't blow up the stadium at the end. I'm guessing because they had all read the book. Audiences in 1977, accustomed to disaster movies of the era, clearly expected this film to end with a conflagration at the Super Bowl. And their anger when that didn't happen was a major factor in its failure at the box office.
Wow.
And then this one I love. Before shooting began, Robert Shaw contacted his old friend, Alan Bates, to see what John Frankenheimer was like. Bates, who had worked with Frankenheimer on The Fixer, told him they would get on fine as they were both completely insane.
Beautiful. Oh, that sounds like such a fun film. And
It's super dense. I mean, it is a lot of espionage and people getting killed, in a boat and stuff like that. And Robert Shaw getting there just a little too late and trying to figure out, what this big thing is going to be. I could not have watched this as a kid and gotten anything out of it.
but blimps.
Well, that's true.
We need way more movies with blimps.
and football.
That's right. That's right.
There's a big lack in my heart now, and it is the shape of a blimp.
I really wanted there to be, remember the old commercial, Eric? Hey, look, it's the Goodrich blimp.
Oh, yeah.
You dummy. Goodrich doesn't have a blimp.
Wow.
Look, we were very easily amused back in the 70s, Vanessa.
I don't know.
That passed as humor.
I'm just sad that I missed out on such a great touchstone.
Yeah, very much so. What year was yours made?
1991.
Okay, then it fell much older than yours. Now we're going to go many, many, many decades further down.
Oh.
Whoa.
With another Kelly recommendation.
Oh.
I guess we normally ignore his recommendations or something.
No, not on purpose.
We're going all the way back to 1936.
Whoa.
Todd Browning's Devil Doll.
In a sensational statement by the prefect of police today, it was admitted that Paul Levon, former bank president, convicted of looting his own bank and killing a watchman, escaped from prison 4 months ago.
Thank you 1,000 times, monsieur. You'll never know how happy it makes me to leave one of my dolls in your beautiful home.
There's something in this house. This is an authentic little replica itself. Isn't it? Hello! Whatever you are, in God's name, listen and have mercy. I'll confess.
Rotten Tomatoes, 79 for critics, 69 audience, so fairly well received. It's available all over the place. There's lots of places to rent and check this one out. Directed by Todd Browning, although he's uncredited initially. He's credited, now, but initially he was an uncredited guy because
I didn't know
Freaks had made him such a pariah.
Really?
Yeah, he got in all kinds of treatment. He sort of never really worked again as Todd Browning.
Oh
after
my
Freaks.
gosh. I did not know this.
And I'll get to that a little bit later. But so you might know him from such movies as Dracula, Freaks, Iron Man, much different version,
Iron Man.
and the sadly forever seemingly lost London After Midnight.
Yeah.
And 62 directing credits.
Wow.
Back when you could work a lot as a director. Written by Garrett Fort, who did he was screenplay credit. Also wrote Dracula, Frankenstein, Mark Zorro. Ironically, he has 62 writing credits.
Whoa.
Guy Endore also wrote the screenplay. He wrote Curse of the Werewolf, Story of G.I. Joe, The Raven, and Eric von Stroheim, who wrote the fairly well-lauded Greed. Super long silent film. Starring Lionel Barrymore.
Yeah.
217 credits for this guy. Started acting in 1905. David Copperfield, Key Largo, and just tons and tons of stuff. Marino Sullivan, who has about 100 credits. She was in almost all of the original Tarzan the Ape Man movies as Jane, I believe, and the Thin Man series as well. So she's in quite a few films. Frank Lawton is A Night to Remember, The Invisible Ray, And Raffaella Otiano is in Grand Hotel and Great Expectations. This movie's filled with really good classic performers. And the acting in this movie is, I mean, it's period, obviously. It's still 1936, but it is well done, 1936. The basic storyline opens up with two men escaping from a prison. One is a scientist, and one is a guy who was wrongfully imprisoned and has nothing but revenge on his mind, getting back at the three people that lied and framed him and put him to jail. Because the first thing you're going to do when you're running from the law is they go to the scientist's wife's house, because nobody's going to look there, right?
Oh my gosh.
But, well, you know, again, we're in 1936. The logics are a little different there. What is this scientist working on, and what has his wife been working on while he's been gone for a couple of years? Miniaturizing everything.
Oh my God.
I mean, literally everything. The scientist's goal is to miniaturize the world to stop the problems of overpopulation that they were having in 1936.
Wow.
So there'd be enough food and resources for everybody.
Oh, don't worry. That's going to get taken care of soon.
That's right. So he's lofty goals here. And the miniaturization is initially shown with a bunch of dogs. The guy shows these little dogs, and they look pretty cool. And the guy's like, oh, these are great little toys. Like, no, they're real, but can only be controlled by the scientist's mind. So that's one of the problems he's got with the miniaturization. He's got to figure out how to make them independent, so you can, live a life. But they decide they're going to miniaturize their house lady, and so they miniaturize her down, and the guy's really fascinated, and they're very nice in that they cover her with cotton in all the right locations. Oh my God. There's like 3 scenes of the guys pulling cotton off and putting it over her.
Oh my
But
God.
the effects on this are insanely good.
For the time, they really are good.
I mean, it's kind of like watching King Kong or some of those where you're going, wow, man. And it's all very simple stuff. It's film overlays or forced. Same kind of shit they did in Lord of the Rings with the hobbits' houses and stuff, but very different. Lacking the computer, obviously, but all the physical stuff they did there is done here, and it's done fairly well. I was thrown out of the movie a little bit when they showed a shot of the guy's Great Dane, and it was Scooby-Doo, man. It's like, holy shit. Hanna-Barbera saw this movie. But when the male scientist, the husband dies at some point. So his wife and the escape guy decide they're going to move to the city to try to figure this out. Of course, the other guy's only interested in finding revenge on the 3 people. In order to disguise himself, which is weird considering what I just talked about earlier, he dresses up as like Mrs. Doubtfire for the movie because he's so wanted. And the 3 bankers that are looking for him are offering like an insane amount of money, like $100,000 or something like that. I mean, just wealth-changing money for 1936, that's for sure. So he has to hide himself most of the time. So he hides himself as a Mrs. Doubtfire who makes little toys. Of course, the little toys are miniaturized people.
Oh my God.
And he has some kind of a little poison or something that he doesn't want to kill them. He just wants them permanently paralyzed.
Right.
So the little guy goes around and tiny little knife and are paralyzed. This is a really good movie. I'm going to tell you. I mean, it drags heavy in the middle of the second act, but so what? It's, whenever I'm watching a movie of its era, I try to watch it with that era in mind. And movies were paced differently in the 30s. So a lot of the scenes with the guys who set them up worrying and stuff, it's kind of like, okay, that's good. I kind of wish there's a little bit more of the creature scenes or the little people scenes. There's a great one where the woman who shrunk is stealing stuff and dropping it off towards him. Incredibly well done. And then the last one with the guy trying to get that last banker where he comes out of the Christmas tree. It's like, that's creepy. So I'm going to say, definitely recommend this one. Check it out because it's awesome. Got some notes and trivia on there, of course. Tagline: greater than the unholy three.
What?
Exactly. I guess that probably meant something at that time.
Yeah, what are the unholy three?
So I'm guessing whatever the unholy three was, this is better than that.
Yeah.
If they're right. Nothing like it since the days of Lon Chaney.
Oh.
See lovely girls shrink to living 12-inch devil dolls.
Damn. Is that the size they were? About 12 inches?
Smaller than that.
Felt like they were, 6 inches or something. Yeah.
The film, one of the problems the film falls into, and I think this was speculation that I've read, it seems watching the movie to be kind of accurate, was there's the revenge storyline, the mad scientist storyline, and the estranged family. The guy who wants revenge also has a daughter who he keeps trying to, he visits, he didn't really try to reconnect with her, but he visits and involves her, Mrs. Doubtfire style. And
hello, dear. It's not your dad at all.
So that, until the end scene, which that was really well done between him and his family, that gets a little like, okay. And it feels like the thumb of the production was on him a little bit, because Freaks is freaking scary.
Yeah.
It's really uncomfortable. It's a really rough watch. Yeah. This should be a little more uncomfortable and scary than it is. And I think that's because he probably was, they got in so much trouble with Freaks. They probably reined him in a little bit and said, you're going to get Marino Sullivan on the screen a little bit more often. It's adapted from a novel called Burn, Witch, Burn by Abraham Merritt, written in 1932.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. That might be fun to read. Well, 1932 movie.
Right.
See, most of the scenes involving shrinking people are done, superimposed or basically film laid on top of film. But it works really well. The New York Times, Frank Nugent praised the movie, in particular special effects, which he compared to King Kong and The Invisible Man, which also has pretty damn impressive effects.
Oh, yeah.
Here's a breakdown of a lot. By use of split screen, glass shots, oversized sets, and other trick devices, they pieced together a photoplay, which is grotesque, slightly horrible, and consistently entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good. Pretty right on, actually. It was also marketed a little bit as a novelty thriller, which probably hurt it some because it's a more serious than just kind of a novelty silly movie would be, where the devil dolls I could see be advertised as a kind of a joke thing, but they're really not. They're a nice, solid, serious presentation. I would say that go check this one out as well. I think we did fairly well this episode with all of us having movies. You know what? You should all go watch these movies.
Yeah, our recommendation to you.
I feel like the big winner here because you guys like the movies I recommended.
Yep.
And I mean, they're kind of different too.
Yeah.
They're stylistically dissimilar.
Which is really nice. Yeah, it feels very custom built. We each got recommended a very different film.
Well, that Devil Doll movie is so bonkers when you think about it that you've got Lionel Barrymore in drag for most of the movie, pretending to be a woman, and it's almost believable, which is the weird part.
They did a solid job on his makeup to make him look like an older woman.
Yeah, and just try and explain this to somebody. Oh, you're gonna love this movie. Lionel Barrymore is out for revenge. He's dressed like an old lady, and he's sending miniaturized assassins out to do his bidding and everything. It's just so bonkers. And the fact that it was made in the 1930s, that was the weirdest thing. I was like, wow, this was science fiction.
Yeah. Oh, very much so.
Is the miniaturizing a permanent process, or is it something that's ever reversible in this film?
They don't do any reversing of it, so I'm assuming it's permanent. That's why I needed to work out because they spend the whole movie, somebody who's ever controlling the dolls is controlling them.
Oh,
they don't become independent. They don't become independent at any point. There's no Freaks moment where they break free and get revenge on the people controlling them or anything like that.
Gotcha. Huh. Wow.
Yeah, fun. So you said it was available easily. I had such a hard time finding it that I ended up having to buy it.
It's for rent on a lot of places now. Maybe it's just recently come out again.
That's cool.
So
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Okay, that means it's my turn for the next subgenre.
Ooh.
We have done, I think, 70s vampires. I
Yes.
think we've done 80s vampires.
Have we? I don't know.
I don't know, but we're not doing 90s vampires. I'll tell you that much. I want to do
good call.
21st century vampires. So vampire movies that were made, in this century and also take place in this century.
Okay.
I can do that.
Yeah. Any films off topic or off not allowed, or are we good to kind of anything after 2000 set in shot in 2000 and beyond?
Yeah. So like I did Dracula Untold, which was shot in 2004, but takes place in 1680 or whatever. So that one's right out. That something like that wouldn't work.
Okay. All right.
So, okay. That means we are at the end of the episode. We are going to thank everybody for participating in the Value for Value model. Thanks, Mom. Mom and I had a phone call today, and she was like, wait a second. Does this mean that I can suggest a movie for you guys if I've been buying pizzas? And I was like, sure. And she goes, I wouldn't know what to suggest. I get all my movies from your guys' recommendations.
Oh, I can't imagine your mom watching some of the stuff we've recommended.
Well, that's true.
She asked me today, do you think I'd like The Boys? Well, maybe give it one episode. And I said, there's a part of you I think is going to find it pretty funny, but it is awfully gory.
It's extremely a rough watch. It's hard to sit through, even if you like it.
But so yes, thanks, Mom. Thanks everybody who's been donating money. That's really, really lovely of you all. Thanks for everybody who's liking, sharing the posts, reaching out and just dropping a comment here and there. I see Ron and Danny and Bob, all those people regularly doing stuff like that. And I really, really, really appreciate it.
Yeah. And for any of those people out there who are new listeners, which seems like we've had a couple of lots of new people jumping in and on board, come find us on the socials and chat to us about what you've listened to, and we'd love to hear from you.
Make sure to subscribe to on your favorite podcast thing so you get these sent to you automatically. You don't have to worry about searching them out. Or is there one out yet? You'll know.
Absolutely. If you're a new listener also, and you feel like you want to drop us a nice review, Eric has a little 5-star challenge going on. If you drop a 5-star review, you can ask him to watch a movie. And most people take advantage of this and just recommend the shittiest movie in the world. So that, and guess what? He loves it.
Yeah, give it a shot. Come on. I'm watching the Andy Milligan fucking movies. You go ahead. I dare you.
I cannot think of a film on this earth that would unfaze you, Eric.
G.I. Joe, the animated movie.
Okay, well, that surprised me.
Sorry, Micah.
Sorry, buddy.
Hey, by the way, Micah showed up on Facebook as people you might know. So I was like, I'm sending him a friend request.
Hey.
And then the guy hasn't posted anything since April.
No, he really stopped.
Micah, entertain me.
He's rarely on Facebook. I think he's mostly on Facebook to respond to us posting our episodes.
Okay. That'll work.
I appreciate it. All right, guys, let's call this a day, and we'll be back in 1 week, and we are talking 21st century vampires. Strange Eons Radio is artisanal quality podcasting, handcrafted with all natural ingredients, and edited to perfection by Eric Margaret. Our blistering theme song is Strange Eons Part 1 by the band Nightshade and is used with permission. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and if you enjoyed this episode, please consider dropping a positive review on Apple Podcasts.
It was one of the worst movies I've seen in years.